Hi, Andrew from SACS, and welcome to video number 2 in our 9-video sequence on stakeholder engagement. This one's about individual differences such as cognitive ability, things like personality, things like values. But firstly, let's turn our attention to cognitive ability. There are 3 forms of cognitive ability that tend to be very important at work. The first is verbal reasoning, so that's to do with words. The second is numerical reasoning, that's to do with numbers. And the third is abstract reasoning. Abstract reasoning is really the capacity to see how things link together. When people have high levels of abstract reasoning, they tend to like conceptual tasks, they tend to like strategy, tactics, and they tend to be very good at forming links between things. Now, if people have this capacity, they quite often have very good political acumen as well. So they're able to sort of form a judgment about this person likes this person likes that, and then to hold that all in their mind at once. Now, the cognitive capacity of a stakeholder is absolutely crucial to your capacity to engage with them. If they're extremely good at words, then not only will you be able to engage them with words, but they may be quite judgmental if your words are in some way lacking. Let's say there's typos or errors or something like that. If a person's really high in abstract reasoning, they tend to like the conceptual, and they'll like perhaps arguments which are subtle or nuanced, and that can be really powerful as a way of causing higher levels of engagement with them. If, on the other hand, they're more concrete thinkers, let's say lower abstract reasoning and higher numerical, then of course what you need to do is to build your relationship with them, build your arguments based on numbers. So understanding this stuff is absolutely crucial to building effective relationships with them. And personality at work is described in this diagram as the SACS 6. This is what's known as a hexaco model of personality. Integrity, modesty is about being truthful and not arrogant. People like that will tend to benefit from straightforward conversations. The second is emotionality, and emotionality is a huge impact on people's lives, very heavily genetically determined. Some people are very emotional, some people are very emotionally stable. But if a person is a very emotional person, then the kinds of relationship that you build with them, firstly, you've got to be careful that they may tend to react strongly to things that you might do. So you're going to have to be cautious about that. But secondly, if you're going to try to get them interested in things, then you may have to use feeling words, words associated with emotions. Things like this will cause warmth between this stakeholder and this stakeholder, or it will avoid some harm. So those, putting them in emotional terms can be very persuasive for a person who is highly emotional. Then there's extroversion. Now, we all know that some people are extroverts and some people are introverts. Extroverts love engagements which bring them in contact with other people. And the types of persuasive messages that you might give an expert is, well, you like Mary Smith and she thinks this is a good idea. Extroverts tend to like to be brought together, and they also tend to be optimistic and cheerful. So optimistic, cheerful messages can be very powerful. Then there's absence of anger. If the person is a calm person, then that's an important thing to know. Absence of anger is the degree to which a person is intrinsically angry or kind of approachable and agreeable. Now, if a person is angry and difficult, then frankly, you have to bear that in mind in the way that you approach them. You have to be careful and make sure that you're approaching them in a way and at a time that will work for them. But as well as that, if they're an agreeable kind of a person, then what you do is you demonstrate to them that, look, this is all fine. It's a calm kind of an offering. It's an offering where people will have an opportunity to get together and think things through calmly instead of dealing with things emotionally or impulsively or angrily. Then there's conscientiousness. Different people vary enormously on conscientiousness. Conscientiousness is the degree to which somebody is committed to results, hardworking, and to a certain degree resilient. A conscientious person will tend to persist and try if, for instance, things aren't working well with them. Now, a conscientious person can be persuaded by arguments like, this will get you a better result. This will help you to achieve your goals. This will help your organisation to be successful. If somebody's less so, then what it may mean is that the other elements of their personality, like their extroversion or their emotionality, will need to be appealed to. A highly conscientious person can be appealed to on the basis of outcomes and results. And finally, openness to experience. Openness to experience is the degree to which stakeholders will tend to like new or different things. If a person is high on openness to experience, then the sort of person who will tend to welcome new ideas, tend to be broad-minded, tend to be intellectually curious. If a person's low in openness to experience, then they probably need to be persuaded by stuff associated with the things that they're familiar with. So show them that this will cause them to be able to lock into whatever successes they've had in the past. Or maybe you need to demonstrate to them, look, this is not a really radical idea. These people do it, these people do it. It's all fine. So those are the personality characteristics. Then we turn to values. Personality and cognitive ability are quite heavily genetically determined. We know that through twin studies. Non-identical twins that grow up in the same family don't correlate as highly as identical twins which separate at birth and have never met each other. So we know that there's a strong genetic component in cognitive ability and personality. So if you're an extrovert at age 3, chances are you'll be an extrovert at age 70. Now, values on the other hand do and can and will change in the course of life. So the values that you have when you're 20 are quite different from the values that you might have when you're 50, let's say. But if you've practiced your values for a long time, they do become persisting. Our values really are goals. And in work values, we're talking about workplace goals. So we're looking at the SACS work value scale here, which is 11 work values that have been demonstrated in research, and we'll just pick out a couple. You see that this person is extremely strong on environmental sustainability. What that literally means is that the person wants to go to work to advocate the cause of environmental sustainability, to help the world to be better in terms of environmental sustainability. They're also high on social justice, which means that they really believe in their work, that they are people who want to contribute to the world being a fairer place. So let's say if they're in the disability sector, they want people with disability to be able to achieve their goals. That's a classic social justice aim. So if you're a stakeholder manager, you need to take these values into account. And what that means is that if this person is like this, then you need to appeal to their sense of social justice or their sense of environmental sustainability in whatever it is that you're hoping to achieve. Now, later on in this sequence of videos, we'll teach you some techniques about how literally to have conversations with people, how to draw out these values. But I guess all of what we've talked about today is a matter of observing. It's a matter of understanding the non-verbals of people. It's a matter of seeing how they respond to certain things to understand whether they are likely to be the sorts of people who will relate well to what you're offering. The next video in this sequence is about dealing with remote stakeholders, the proximal versus distal effect.